As with so much in the book of Revelation, a huge amount of ink, both digital and real, has been wasted in trying to work out the exact identity of those two witnesses in the first half of chapter 11. One thing is blindingly obvious from the start. Telling the story of God can be dangerous, very dangerous. These two prophets are killed. Sadly, this has become an ever-present reality for far too many Christians around the world now, perhaps now more than ever, as they face this danger every day of their lives. But as to who the witnesses are, that's not so immediately obvious. It may have been quite clear to John's original hearers, but we can't really ask them now. The city seems easier to identify. It has a temple, and in verse 8 it's described as the place where their Lord was crucified, which would make it Jerusalem. But it's also called Sodom and Egypt. I think that may be because some of the Jewish leaders and some of the Jerusalem hierarchy had become corrupt and had colluded with Rome in having Jesus crucified and in persecuting his followers. So it's as if Jerusalem has become, for God's people, for Christian believers, as dangerous a place as Sodom and Egypt had been for the Old Testament people of God. But we're still no closer to deciding exactly who those two witnesses are. I think most simply that they just represent any or all faithful followers of Jesus who share the whole gospel story with people, that bittersweet scroll of chapter 10. Through prayer, they can have the same sort of power as Moses and Elijah, whose actions in the Old Testament are described in verses 5 and 6. After all, as James wrote, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Elijah was a human being even as we are. He prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain on the land for 3.5 years. Again he prayed, and the heavens gave rain, and the earth produced its crops. So that mystery might be solved. It's quite possible that the two witnesses just stand for any and every faithful believer who tells the story of God. Then in verses 15 to 19 there's a brief respite from all those creatures and all the terror, and we're in God's throne room, where the 7th trumpet is about to be blown, and its secret revealed. The mystery sealed up, that is revealed as the 7th trumpet is sounded, is that whatever it may look like, the kingdom of this world, though it may seem to be evil, has become the kingdom of God by the death and resurrection of Jesus. It has started, and one day it will be completed. God has spoken in power, shown by the lightning and thunder in verse 19. The outcome isn't in doubt.